It's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the ADK Rock and Metal channel, and today we are doing another random discussion through the random discussion generator. And sorry, if you only get that if you've watched all the other ones of us doing this, but we have done multiple discussions off of this generator. So if it
Muted it there again, didn't
generator,
There we go.
yay! So if we hit a topic that we've already discussed, or we hit a black line bit, we will then of course jump onto and press it again. But let's get into the discussions. Let's go. No, black line, keep going. Okay, so why have we never had a second grunge scene, or a second wave of grunge?
Do you want me to start?
So I want to explain what I mean by this. So if you think about, we had new wave of British heavy metal, followed by new wave of British heavy metal, followed by the new wave of British heavy metal, followed by the new wave of British heavy metal. Then we had the original thrash, then we've had secondary thrash scenes, we've had death scenes, we've had new death scenes, we've had deathcore, we've had hardcore, and then we've had brand new hardcore that's come out, and we've had it, and popularity's come through. Now what we've seen with grunge is Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, then new metal came out, and then we had, of course, still had bands like those bands and Stone Temple Pilots, and then they kind of came back, those same bands came back, but where were the secondary wave of new bands playing grunge? Because we've had new bands playing hardcore that have kind of broken through. We've had new thrash bands that have broken through. Whereas we had Metallica and Megadeth, then we've had Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine. So we had a secondary wave of new popular bands. But with grunge, we had the original grunge bands, and that's about it. There may have been some grungy bands, but they've either been moved in with other genres, but we never had just another core second wave of grunge, and I don't understand why. Kirk?
I think I'm qualified to answer this one. So
Well, at least one of us is then.
we're going to
Because I'm
start.
certainly not one.
We're going to start with a rhetorical question. I could just throw this back at you. What is the difference between grunge and alternative rock? We'll leave that as a rhetorical question, but please think on that. We did have a second wave of grunge. It's called post-grunge. It's probably one of the most hated,
Well, it's not grunge then, it's called post-grunge.
most hated genres on the planet.
Fucking different genre.
But not in America.
Surely.
Because butt rock is basically post-grunge, and it is the blandest
But it's not.
Pearl Jam imitating music.
So you're saying
you could ever come
Nickelback's
across.
grunge then?
It certainly takes
It's rock.
influence from
That's
Pearl Jam.
post-grunge. He's just said
Post-grunge. So there was a second wave. And the
So
other,
it's Trivium post-thrash then?
that. I don't know.
well, no, the second question, right? Grunge, specifically, was it located in one city? Yes, Seattle. So if they're no longer producing bands, is it grunge? You could say that bands like Dinosaur Jr., who are not from Seattle, influenced grunge. Black Flag, the hardcore
But they were
band,
around at the
influenced
same
it.
time, yeah. So they
But
were around
this
at the same
was in one city, wasn't it? Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, they're all from Seattle. So you could say, with the death of Kurt Cobain and then the demise of Alice in Chains and Soundgarden because of them splitting up and drug addiction
time.
issues.
Singers all dying.
Yeah, exactly. Alternative rock, that's probably, I've got to say that's quite anodyne, that scene as well. I would say that.
Because wouldn't you say things like maybe Smashing Pumpkins, that's alternative rock?
Yeah, Jane's Addiction,
So that's
Smashing Pumpkins.
that's the follow-up after grunge. We had
like-
that was a crossover of those.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Pumpkins were on Sub Pop in 1992, so they were part of it. I think.
Alternative rock with Hole as well. You could put Hole in with grunge, but I would have said Hole is more alternative rock. I'd put them more in line with Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction.
I
and
mean,
sort of area.
let's look at the bands that do follow the death of Kurt Cobain that have tremendous success. Bush, Silverchair, Live. Then you get bands like Three Doors Down, Creed. There's a band called, do you remember that band? They're called Fuel 238.
The thing is,
didn't sell anything over
but
here.
again,
They sold
if
3
it's-
million in
They
there.
may have followed. Bands like Three Doors Down may have followed, but they have no real evidence. They might have the most basic DNA of something like grunge, but grunge really, for me, has more DNA within the doom metal area. So was it a case that basically what would have been grunge just became more modern doom?
Okay, so there's a band that have a foot in each camp as originators.
Just like you just completely tuned out.
Melvins, right?
Okay,
Seen
yeah.
as the godfathers of grunge, also seen as the godfathers of sludge metal.
Okay.
And I think we've put this into the generator for future, haven't we? About a gateway from grunge to sludge. So I'm not going to open that kind of worms yet. But I've got to say here, grunge, Seattle-based. 2, what do we mean by alternative rock? 3, what do we mean by punk rock? Because grunge really takes the indie sensibility, the guitar tunings of metal, or the heavy elements of metal, and the punk attitude. That's what it is when you listen to Mudhoney and Nirvana. You listen to Alice in Chains, to me, they're a metal band. Soundgarden, art school metal. Pearl Jam, corporate rock, but the first 2 albums are good.
So, grunge was always seen as relatively lazy playing.
It's about the attitude, man.
It's the attitude, it was very loose.
Despondent emotion.
It wasn't about solos. If there was a solo, it was quite lackadaisical. It wasn't all about. It was just very much just taking it away from being all the corporational elements.
Yeah.
It was just very chilled out. Do we expect more from our musicians? That's why that technically it would be easy enough to start up a grunge band, and people expect more from their musicianship now, that they don't expect them to just be lazy, chilled out, sloppy guitar chord players.
Do you not think now though, if a
Not
band,
saying that's what grunge
if a
was,
band came
but
out and they
it
sound
was-
like Screaming Trees, say, for an example, I'm sorry to say this, would we not just think this is dad rock? It's like when you put a Pearl Jam album now, you fucking fearing the worst. You're thinking, oh my god, is this going to make me cringe? Is it them just playing hard rock, really poorly as well? I just think, let's turn the discussion. What replaced grunge? New metal, right? What impact did grunge have on new metal? Certainly that sense of teenage angst, alienation. What Korn did was really refreshing. So they're taking the dark elements of grunge, the introspection. Then they're taking gangster rap and hip hop, and then groove metal, and even Sepultura and Prong and bands like that, and Red Hot Chili Peppers, putting it all together, different aesthetic, and it really challenges what is heavy metal. Is it Iron Maiden and Judas Priest singing about wizards and dragons, etc., or is it Jonathan Davis singing about childhood traumas? It did change music. I think new metal was the successor genre to grunge, which was let's be honest, grunge lasts for literally 2 years, and the suits, the music industry just get hold of it and quickly monetize it and commercialize it and suck the life out of it. And you've got to say it is symbolic. When Kirk Cobain blows his head off, that's the end of grunge. New metal deserves credit. That's what replaced it, in my opinion, in alternative guitar music.
And yet, grunge music as a whole is still incredibly popular. People still absolutely love. But are they even bothered about if a band like Pearl Jam puts a new album out, or is it just purely legacy that they care about? Because is it a case that there's a nostalgia element towards it, whereas actually grunge just was lazy songwriting?
I mean, I think it's great songwriting. What grunge?
It's emotional. It had a lot of. It was very personal. It was very emotional, and it wasn't about the technical ability of your musicianship. It was about the stories. For me, it was about the heartache, the personality. It wasn't
alienation.
Up before then. If you're talking about the 80s going into the early 90s when grunge comes out, you're talking about bands that were singing about like "Lick My Love Gun" or "Palm," and it's all about the bombastic hair metal. Thrash, and you've got Celtic
How
Frost.
dare you put thrash in with her metal?
But the genres that were going on over there, but nothing was talking about real life. Grunge came out, started singing about real life issues. They were singing songs about heroin abuse. They were talking
Depression.
from a personal point of view about depression.
Can I ask a question then?
Doom
I haven't got much to add to this conversation because
not
I
your favourite-
don't
it's not
like
your genre.
Soundgarden or Nirvana or any of those bands, but you've just said how good songwriters they were, Kirk, and they're emotive and tackled these subject matters, but the musicianship weren't great. Why was that? Why was that?
They didn't want to be extravagant.
Why didn't good musicians play that type of
By the
music
way-
and make grunge this massive great scene
By the way,
that
they are
lasted a
great.
couple of years?
Soundgarden are great musicians. We're talking about arguably the best rock
We're
singers of
talking
all
more
time.
about the technicality. If you think about like fast guitar playing, it was very loose. So they weren't all
Noise
about
rock.
each other.
Yeah.
So it was all kind of loose, and there was nice layering. I mean, if you listen to some of the like Alice in Chains stuff, there was amazing.
That's
playing.
technical, though. It's because Joey controls.
But it wasn't what we class as like the technicality of the thrash. I mean, to be honest, you could say that grunge musicianship was better than some of the hair metal stuff coming out, because the hair metal stuff from Poison and stuff was just bog standard
rock
crap.
roll, isn't it? Yeah.
But I think people connected with it because it felt like it was your mates from the garage next door that were playing on stage, not something that was unreachable.
That's a scene thing.
So I think there was a scene, whereas I think that scene is now. There's no requirement for that scene anymore because people.
Oh, interesting perspective. Okay.
So maybe people don't. The only time I've seen a scene where people have connected from an emotional point of view, from a thought or how they feel, connects with how the band feel and how the rest of the audience feel, has been with Sleep Token recently. Because everyone I've spoken to about that, and we did a stream with people from fans of the band, and they were talking about how it's music for the broken. And I would say grunge would have been that element as well. It was a case of people who were like-minded, who wanted to feel real life, and it wasn't about sing-along choruses in the sense of like pop rock or butt rock or stadium rock. It was sing-along but feeling that emotion. So when they were singing songs like Lithium or whatever it might be, or Black Hole Song,
Fell on Black
Days, you're talking about serious depression. But what I find really interesting is how close to doom grunge is.
Yeah, because Soundgarden, it is basically art school Black Sabbath, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what you look
Working
at
on the same chord structures as what Doom does.
Let me ask you this question, Dave. I'm interested in your opinion. Can you
Not
think?
Andy's opinion.
Can you think of a subgenre of heavy guitar music that produced such a plethora of world-class iconic singers? Other than, grunge is incredible. Kirk Cobain, what a voice. Lane Staley, so influential. Chris Cornell. I've just mentioned 3 people. Eddie Vedder, look how many people have ripped him off. The variation in voice and personality. I just can't think of any other genre that's produced that level of talent when it comes to natural vocal ability.
From an emotive point of view, probably you're true. But as far as you could go around a lot of the classic new wave of British heavy metal bands, and the vocalists in those bands are amazing, but they're all very similar. Is the difference. Whereas you've got Eddie Vedder, and he's like,
the yell technique.
when you sort of say Yellowtail or whatever it's called, where he's sort of like, you're like, what the fuck are you singing about, mate?
But do you know what's funny? When you hear bands rip off his style, it's clear that that's not their natural tone. What was that band called? The Calling.
Yeah.
Do you remember, what was that song? He just did that, didn't he? He just,
but Scott Stapp,
he just imitated it. It's like, stop fucking yelling. So why have we never had a second?
I don't fucking know. I don't. To be honest, maybe it's a case there isn't a strong enough vocal performance. Are there no more vocalists that can deliver that, or was it a case of Alter Bridge and bands like that came out after it and they took on the mantle, and that the combination of the hard, because obviously we never had any more of that glam rock stuff. Thank fucking Christ for that.
Yeah.
Of the Poisons and stuff. Although we're getting a bit again because we never had newer bands apart from Steel Panther
and the Darkness. Yeah.
But maybe it's a case of we've just had a blending of 2 genres. So we've had the hard rock element and we've had the grunge element that have come together, and we've created bands like Alter Bridge.
I think they've gone 3 ways. One, butt rock, which is, let's be honest, quite bland, that music. They're taking some of the grit, the blue collar grit of grunge, but even the production of that music, their inability to capture the guitar distortion, it's not heavy. Some have gone down the other route where they're now playing metal, so Alter Bridge, they've gone with higher musicianship. And the third one, which is a question in the generator that I'd like to address at a later date, is the heavier element of grunge really now sludge metal? But I think that's something to
maybe
stew on, and I think Andy would be more interested in that one as well.
No, completely checked out.
What day is it?
Finish taxes.
Have you decided what you're having from KFC in these last 5 minutes?
Yeah, I will say now. You mentioned the quality of the vocalists. I mean, the guys you mentioned. Yes, from what I know, Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
You got to say, Kirk Cobain is an incredible vocalist.
I'm not sure about Kirk Cobain. Probably get shot down for that, but. And then you impersonate Eddie Vedder as if he was Vic Reeves, Shooting Stars, singing in the club style. That's what that reminded me of.
Yellow belt better or something.
What about like Jeremy? You really dying? great song, wasn't it? I love that first Mojo album.
Really, I
and
do
I
like
apologise for
Mojo.
calling
Mojo
it
is
corporate
good.
rock. They're like the anti-corporate rock. But stop fucking yelling. Stop trying. Any singer that's doing that is just copying Eddie Vedder.
Or Vic
Come on, that
Reeves,
calling.
apparently.
Sorry, the song "The Calling." What is the title for that?
Wherever you may go.
And what is?
Wherever you may go.
And then you look at the guy on camera, and he's this like guy who's 21 years age. He's like, why are you fucking singing? Like you've got some tobacco in your mouth.
So that's Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Trying to go now that.
And so when people rip him up, it's hilarious.
It's got stabbed and stuff. Anyway, let us know what you think about this whole thing in the
I don't think
comments
we
down
answered
below.
it,
I don't
actually.
think we did. Because we can't really answer the reason why. I just think we haven't got the same source.
It's because it's been subsumed into alternative rock.
Yeah, it wasn't distinctive enough.
And then the
So
heavy band
I
gone
don't think
to
it was
a sludge.
distinctive enough to have it stand out on its own. It was just
Yeah, there's a big difference between Mudhoney
start again.
and Alice in Chains. Yeah, when to finish this now, yeah. Anyway, at least Andy got to decide in his head in those last 10 minutes what he's ordering from KFC
Yeah.
after his session. So,
worked out what it's
are you
like.
going to the fully loaded meal?
I didn't.
No, I'm just going to wait for the
He
next
checked
session.
out.
Okay, well, if you enjoyed our video today, please do like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you on the video sometime very soon. Take care.